to another interesting class in this our series of Let's Play with React. So today we're going to be continuing. Today we're going to be looking at some important concepts like the concepts of components, states, props. So in the last code we wrote, um, my system was pretty slow, so I'm going to start it all over again so that you understand these concepts. So this is what we stopped, and we were talking about JSS, JavaScript, XML, and we'll say that it is simply the way that React, the language or the syntax that React uses in rendering or creating components. And you can see it as a combination of both JavaScript and HTML. So you can see here now we have HTML here, hello world, and you have this curly bracket that has a valid JavaScript expression of 5 plus 5. And when you run this, you simply see this. You can see hello world JSX, then the 5 plus 5 here is 10. So you make any changes here, then you're gonna see it on the other side. So let me say 50 plus 20, so that you can see that this is actually a valid JavaScript expression. So once I do that, I'm gonna do Ctrl S to save. So once I save, you can see my system is pretty faster today. So you can see 70, okay? So that is what we are doing. So let's go on to create components and see how components work in React, okay? So I'm going to click on this SRC folder. You can see this SRC folder. I'm going to click on this folder icon, new folder. You can see it here. So I'm going to type in components. Okay, so let me make sure I got this right. So this is components. So we're going to create two components. Then when we create these two components, we are now going to render them in the root component. I told us that the app.js is the root component. So when you write a code, create another component, and you import them into the app component, they are going to be rendered here using JXSS. So let's try that. So the two components I'm going to be creating, you see under components, I'm going to also, when I click, make sure that components is highlighted. Then you click on file. So I'm going to call the first one do calc. This simply do calculation. That's what I mean. So do calc.js. Okay. So once you do that, it's gonna, you can see that do calc is under components. So you can see it's showing here. And I told you that I have an extension known as ES7 React Native, React Redux, and all those. You can simply search it here. When you click on you can see this is extensions. So click on it. Just type ES7. As you're typing, you're going to see the you can see ES7 React Redux blah blah blah. It's very long. You can see it ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native snippet. So make sure you click on install to install that. I think the version I installed is actually this one, ES7 React Redux React Native snippet. So get it installed so that when you use a snippet, you can get what you want. Okay, so I'm going to use the snippet. I'm going to simply type RFCE. You understand? So once you type it, it's going to bring out this the snippet, so that once you click on that snippet, it will scaffold your functional React component. So you can see, and it's naming it do calc, which is the same as the name of the file. Okay, so once I do that, I'm going to leave it like this because it's actually importing React for me, and it's writing the function and it's exporting as default do calc. Okay, so inside here I'm going to simply use H1 to render this. So I'm going to make sure that my do calc is right inside the H1. Okay, so I'm going to call this do calc component, so that once it renders, it's going to call it do calc component. Okay, so once I have this, I'm going to do Ctrl S to save. So once you do Ctrl S, you can see how it's formatted this for me. So why did it format? Because I have another extension known as Prettier. So when you also go to these extensions tab, if you type in Prettier, you're going to see the extension known as Prettier. So this extension allows for formatting on save, so that once I save it, formats it, make the code to look better. You can see it here, prettier code formatter. Okay, that's another extension that I have. So as I go on with this course, I'm going to be telling you the extensions that I have in on my VS Code that enables the code to come out pretty much better. So you see, I now have a component. So we say that React is a component-based library. So you're going to have different components created. Then you come to the root component, which is the app.js. You bring them all together in order to get what you want. Okay, so this is the first component, mini component that I've created. But you already know that we have the app.js, which is the root component. Okay, so I'm going to create another component again. So I come to this same uh, components folder. I'm going to click on this again. So I'm going to call this one show result. Now, notice that when I'm creating my components, I'm starting out with a capital letter. Very, very important. Component, you have to create with this kind of system where the first word has to be in capital letter. Okay, so I'm going to click enter. Okay, so I'm going to also do the same thing. RF CE, you understand? React functional export component. That's the meaning of this. So once I click, you see it has created a function component with the name show result. So I'm going to make this show by simply saying using h1 again. So make sure that when you put the h1 that this show result is inside the h1. So we're going to be looking at propsig also today. So so I'm going to call this show result what component. Okay, so I'm going to save this. So we now have two components inside the components folder. So now I'm going to now import them into the app.js, which is the root component. Very, very important. And this is how you're going to be creating sophisticated applications. You're going to have your root component. Then you're going to have different components like the login component, the sign out component, the header, the navigation bar, the sidebar. So you're going to bring all of them into the app component. The app component will now show the rest of the components. So that is the concept of component. So we say React components are small reusable piece of code that return a React element. So you bring them together, this small reusable piece of code, returning element, you bring them together inside the root component, which is the React. So let me bring them inside here. So if I come down here, I now try to bring in, say this is the component here, do calc. I'm gonna say do calc. So even as I'm trying to write it, it's already coming up. You can see do calc here. Once I click here, you can see it has written import do calc from /components/do calc, which is actually where the do calc is. So that's what can be done. So you can see now this component is now here. This do calc component that I created is now here. Then if I want to, it did what we call automatic import. So I would have written this import do calc from /. / simply means from the same folder level. Then when you now get to into components, now inside the component, get me do calc. Okay, that's for that. So I'm gonna go down now and import the show results. So I'm gonna just simply, once I start typing show results, it's gonna come out. So I can just simply click here, do one space, and close it out. You can see it has also imported show result. But if this automatic importation was not done, you have to type it in by yourself. So you can see these two new components are being imported into the app.js, which is the root component. So I can do Ctrl+S to save and go check it out on my. So you can see these two extra components. You can see do calc components. It was show. I wrote inside with h1 do calc component, and for show result I wrote inside with h1 show result component. So you can see two of them are coming alongside the same HTML that I had initially. Okay, so if I go here now, this is what I'm saying. This vec is 50 plus 20, which is 70. Then the do calc component and the show result component. So this is basically what we call JXS and component system in React. So you can see that the two components are coming, whereas we also have this initial one. So this can like bring very closer to you the concept of React. So this H1 could actually be the navigation bar, whereas this do card becomes the login component, and this show result becomes the footer. Okay, so let me explain this more. So this can be the navigation bar where you have your login and every other thing. This can be the login component, and this can be the footer. It's as easy as that. So let's try to bring that to play. So I can easily come here, clear out this, and simply like write something like home. Okay, home. Then I'll say about us. So I want you to get a rough sense of what could be happening here. This for a typical website. This can be services, and this can be what? Contact us. Okay, so that could be what you have there. Then under do local, so I'm gonna quickly save this. Then under do local, you can be having your login form. So you can be having login form. Okay, then under show results, you can be having your typical footer, and you know what comes out in your footer. For your footer, you can be having email us at Ostino at, that's not my email, at gmail.com. Okay, so I'm gonna save this out. I'm gonna make sure I save this. So make sure anytime you make any changes to your file, make sure you save it. So you can see I can save all these out, and I can get here. So you can see home, about us, services, contacts, or login form, and the footer. So this can like give you a rough sense of what you can use this to build. You can see that this component is different from where this component is. The login form is totally different from where the footer is, and totally different from where you have your navigation bar. But you're going to bring all this together in order to get your full website, and that is the power of React. Building blocks, components are the building blocks of a React application. So you can see the components here, the do card component, the show result component, and the root component app.js, all of them coming together. So you can write all the code about your login form here. You can simply even go get a code with HTML, place it here. It's going to show your login form. Then you come here, get a similar code for footer, place it here. It's going to show that. Then you go get a code on navigation, place it there. It's going to show you that. And all of them are different. So that if you want to make changes to your do card, which is your login form, you simply go there. You already know where it is. Make the changes and bring them inside the app.js, and that's how you go. That is how you roll. And this is pretty simple. Okay, so that is how we're going to be doing. So that is the concept of components. Subsequently, we are going to be looking at states. Very, very important. States are used to store values. The values that these components will use to work, they are going to be stored in states. And we're going to be trying this using a counter application. So I'm going to be building out a counter application with you so that you know about states and you know about props. Props is simply when you are passing state around. If you want to pass state from one component to the other. Now we're going to be having a state that we're going to be displaying in the root component known as the app.js. Now, if you want to pass that state down to the child component like the do card and the show result, you're going to use what we call props. So we're going to be trying that out in the subsequent class, and we're going to be using useState to do that. The useState hook. We're going to write one counter application using the useState or the React hooks, and we're going to write one with the class component using the lifecycle methods. Okay. So I'm going to go check out my light, put back the light, and we're going to continue. Yeah. Thank you. Please, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment section. See you when I see you.